Weeks after the completed Brexit, the situation on the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland remains opaque. That is why the UK is now making a request to the EU. Great Britain tightened the tone towards the EU in the Brexit dispute over Northern Ireland. In a guest post for the Sunday Telegraph, we know that newspaper, British Brexit Commissioner David Frost urged, "I hope that your remaining malevolence against us is shaken off and instead builds a friendly relationship between sovereign equals." He just forgets one point there. The EU and the UK are not equals. One is a market of 450 million and the other of some 60 million. That's not equal. But he still expects Brexit Britain to be treated on an equal footing. With its actions in the dispute over vaccine exports, the EU had undermined trust in the Northern Ireland Protocol, wrote the cabinet member. The laboriously negotiated protocol is intended to prevent a hard border between Northern Ireland and the EU member state Ireland. In return, goods imported into Northern Ireland from Great Britain must be checked there. This creates a trade border within the UK. Delivery problems arose. Great Britain questioned the protocol after the EU introduced export restrictions for corona vaccines, referring to the emergency clause for the Irish border, the so-called Article 16. And there's the point. I used the wording they used, but the restrictions have never been put in place. The Article 16 has never been triggered. The emergency clause has not been used because the heads of the Commission knew it would be a mistake to do so, and so they never did that. Although some Brexiteers spread that nonsense time and time again. Article 16 has not been triggered. And so it's not an excuse for anything of the games the UK government is playing now. At times it seemed as if it was accepting controls at the Irish land border. And with the games of the UK, that might be the unhappy situation we might get in. The situation in the northern province remains fragile, wrote Frost. So we had to take some temporary operational steps to minimize the disruption in Northern Ireland. London recently unilaterally extended a transitional phase during which food imports into Northern Ireland are less controlled, and also relaxed another import rule. And they say the steps are lawful. It is about protecting everyday life in Northern Ireland to ensure that people receive parcels and can buy the usual groceries in the supermarkets, said Prime Minister Boris Johnson's confidant. Without this threatening disruption, we can have our talks with the EU continue in order to constructively solve the difficulties arising from the protocol, and we want that too. That is a point. They might even say there's a passage in the Northern Ireland Protocol that allows that. That's not true. There is an article for emergencies, or a passage for emergencies, that one side can unilaterally put up emergency measures for unexpected emergencies. But nothing that is happening now is an unexpected emergency. One reason for this is the British side did not prepare properly for everything. Everybody knew what was coming. And they signed that they will prepare for it, and they just didn't. Period. And the other thing is, rules that are in place now, from the point of view of other third countries, very old rules for third countries from the EU, are not surprising either. Everybody knew for a long time that these rules will be in place now, with or without a free trade agreement or the TCA we have now. So there's nothing surprising, and so there's no legitimacy to rely on the passage in the Northern Ireland Protocol for emergencies. So that's sheer nonsense. On the other hand, the food shortage fears an immediate plan to ease the controls of EU imports after Brexit. Now, ministers are considering a lighter regime to avoid disrupting supplies from the European Union. Ministers are preparing to relax post-Brexit plans for border controls on food and other imports from the European Union, fearing they could further damage trade and lead to significant shortages in UK supermarkets. The Observer has been told by multiple industry sources that Boris Johnson's new Brexit minister, Lord Frost, is considering allowing import controls easier than currently planned from April 1st and scaling back plans for full customs controls, including physical inspections, which should start on July 1st. According to a source, he was told that Frost was preparing to go ahead with the plans, which could mean allowing imports even if European companies made typographical errors in front of, and he said that in front of cabinet colleagues this week, as there's growing evidence of it, like Brexit has made trade with the EU more complex now. A Downing Street source confirmed Saturday night that Frost had already ordered a schedule review to make sure we weren't placing unnecessary strain on business, but added that it was early in the process and no decisions have been made. With UK exporters to the EU badly affected by what they call new rules, but they're only new to the UK because they're old, regulations and operating costs following the Brexit regime, business associations and high-ranking figures in Whitehall now fear that EU exporters to the UK, especially those who deal with food, at the beginning of this year they were even less prepared than their British counterparts. One major concern is that delays due to controls could affect food supplies, including the just-in-time delivery network. A senior figure in the industry said, "The concern is that if we do more controls and checks on imports, exporters are not prepared, and on this side we are not ready either. There is still no infrastructure or the number of customs officers required to do all of this. We have already seen a strong impact on exports. The next nightmare could be imports," they say. While the Cabinet Office headed by Michael Gove has tried to downplay the impact of Brexit on UK trade, a survey by the Food and Drink Federation of its members sending goods to the EU found a 45% decline in export last week since January 1st. When asked by the Observer on Friday whether he was confident that plans for further controls on imports from the EU could come into effect from April 1st and July 1st, Chancellor Rishi Sunak said, "We are working these things with the joint committee and together I think we'll look at everything. If there are any problems, we will try to fix them. The systems and IT are all on track, but we are reviewing everything to make sure everything is going as smoothly as possible." While a major Brexit claim has always been that Brexit would mean regaining control of our borders, this has proven extremely problematic since the UK left the single market and the customs union on January 1st. To give companies time to adjust, the government decided that imports from the EU to the UK could function normally until April 1st. As of this date, under current plans, all items of animal origin such as meat, honey, dairy or egg products, as well as regulated plants and plant products, will require full documentation and, if necessary, veterinary certificates in order to be sold in the UK. Starting July 1st, all companies exporting to the UK will be required to complete full customs declarations and goods could be physically inspected at new UK customs centres. Richard Burnett, Executive Director of the Road Haulers Association, said, "We hear from the government that they will take a light touch approach in the next phase, or maybe even extend the grace period. While this makes sense in order to continue the uninterrupted flow of food from the EU to the UK, I am concerned that it will weaken the government's negotiating leverage when it demands similar relief from the EU for UK companies trying to trade with them." In another sign of post-Brexit problems, Gove announced last week that the grace period for easier enforcement of EU rules on supermarket goods, pharmaceuticals, chilled meats and parcels would be extended from the UK to Northern Ireland until January 2023. Some of the current exemptions are to be discontinued at the end of March, which raises fears of further border disruptions. The issue of the new border in the Irish Sea has reopened tensions in Northern Ireland while worsening already bad relations with Brussels, which is considering legal action against the UK for breaching the withdrawal agreements. Frost, who, as I said, wrote on Sunday in the Sunday Telegraph, urged Brussels to shake off any remaining ill will against Britain to leave, well, arguing the government was actually legally protecting the daily lives of the people in Northern Ireland. I hope they will shake off any remaining ill will to leave us and instead build friendly relationships among sovereign equals. Yeah, I commented the equal part in the beginning. In its report on last week's budget, the Budgetary Responsibility Office reiterated its view that the additional trade barriers created by Brexit would reduce UK productivity by around 4% in the long run. On Saturday evening, Shadow Cabinet Office Secretary Rachel Reeves wrote to UBR Chairman Richard Hughes, asking him to release details of his assessment of the economic impact of the trade deal with the EU, including its impact on exports and various regions of the United Kingdom. Regarding the OBR's estimate that productivity has declined by 4%, Reeves told Hughes, "This is extremely worrying, and this concern is compounded by the government's lack of response in addressing or even acknowledging this loophole." Oh dear. I'm sometimes quite speechless what they think over there, what they can do and what they get through with. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.